guitar wall holder. Got the wood from my Junkbox, got the screws from my stash. Put it together in my shop, put it together in a flash. Mounted on the wall, mounted on the door. Hang my bass, hang my guitar.
So let's start with the stuff we're going to need. First, we need some wood glue. We need some masking tape for later on, a glue stick for temporarily mounting the template on the backing plate to cut it out. We're going to need 2 plastic anchors. We're going to need 2 drywall screws, and a piece of wood that's 3/4 inches thick, that's 1.5 inches wide and 2 inches long. And we're going to cut one end at a 15-degree angle. Then we have the backing plate itself with the template under it, but you can make the backing plate any shape you like. And if you have a bandsaw available, you can use that to cut out the backing plate. But if you don't, you can just use a regular hand scroll saw. We'll also need 2 pieces that are 3/4 inch thick by 1/2 inch high by 6 inches long, with a taper that starts on one end and goes to the full 1/2 inch, 2.5 inches down the length. And you can see here on this one on the other end, I've rounded the other end over. And we make 2 of those identically. Okay, and if you'd like a copy of the template and all the dimensions, you can just email me here and ask for the guitar wall hanger PDF. So let's get started. Let's put a piece of scrap paper down and take the glue and put it on each side of that 2 inch by 1.5 inch block of wood. Spread it around with your finger or whatever you'd like to spread it around with. And then we're going to take those 2 6-inch long pieces that we had before, and we're going to mount them to this piece. And we're going to do that by mating the end point of that slope with the back end of the block. And we're going to do that for both of those 6-inch long pieces. Now, if you have a set of parallel jaw clamps, you could just clamp this up and let this sit for about a half an hour to an hour. If you don't, just take some of that masking tape and use it to hold the 2 end pieces to the center block very tightly by pulling it as you put the masking tape on, putting tension on all of them and getting you a nice solid bond. And to make sure we have a real solid assembly, let's use 2 pieces of masking tape. Again, leave that set for about a half an hour. You notice I have a parallel jaw clamp, so I use that in addition to the tape. But the tape will work fine. I've done it both ways. Now let's take that tape off, because we don't need it anymore. We have a nice sturdy piece right now, because the glue has dried. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the excess pieces of those 2 6-inch pieces off so they're flush with the block. And I've just done that. And you notice they're flush with the block, both at a 15-degree angle. So let's call this the guitar holder subassembly. Now what we're going to do is mount this guitar holder subassembly to the backing plate. And draw around it so we know where we'd like to put it. And you can place it anywhere on the backing plate. It's up to you. I've placed it about where the bridge might be on an electric guitar, and you see the rectangle that results. Now we're going to locate positions for 2 holes that'll accept the drywall screws. And let's place them about 1/2 inch in from each end and centered on that 3/4 inch height. Next, we're going to drill each of those holes with a 3/16 inch drill bit. Now we have the 2 holes drilled. Now we go to the back of that backing plate, and we're going to use a countersink bit to countersink each one of those holes so that when the drywall screw goes in, it'll sit nice and flush with the back of the backing plate. The last thing we have to do is mount that assembly onto the backing plate, and before we do that, we're going to pre-drill some holes for the screws that we're going to use. So hold the guitar holder assembly in place, and just start the hole there so you know where it is, and then complete the hole using the appropriate bit. I've used a 1/8 inch bit here. Now once you've drilled that first pilot hole, you can put the first screw in and then drive it home with a screwdriver. Now you can drill the second hole because you know exactly where it's going to be. Put that screw in, tighten it down, and our holder is essentially done. Nice and sturdy, looks pretty good. Now we have to mount the holder to the wall. And if there's a stud behind where you're going to mount it, you can just use regular screws. But otherwise, you're going to need plastic anchors. And I have a series of plastic anchors showing you here, some that don't need pre-drilled holes and some that do. Smaller ones for lighter loads and larger ones for heavier loads. So what we're going to do is just mark 2 holes, and you can do this by eye. It's not really that important exactly where they go. And once that's done, I'm going to drill a 3/16 inch hole in each one of those positions. And that's going to allow the screw to go through freely. And you can see I've drilled the 2 holes. They're ready to go. Now I don't have a wall on my workbench here, but I do have a scrap piece of wallboard that I can use to show you how to mount the guitar wall hanger. I'm just going to put it here and show you how this would go up on a regular wall. Here's our scrap piece. Mount it where you want it to be. Then use whatever size drill bit is suitable for the plastic anchor that you're going to use. And drill the 2 mounting holes. In this case, they were 3/16 inch holes. Put the plastic anchors in. And once you've put them in the hole, use a hammer to set them down so that they're as flush with the wallboard as they can be. And then the last thing we have to do is put the 2 screws in to the plastic anchors and screw those screws down. And if I turn over the wallboard, you notice that the plastic anchors have spread out, and that's what holds the bracket to the wall. Now when we use the holder to put the guitar on, you'll notice the guitar neck will touch the bare wood. So what we want to do is cushion the guitar neck from the bare wood, and we can use a few different methods. For instance, we could use adhesive back felt available at the local home store, but a cheaper approach is to just use the packing you get with a lot of electronic equipment, cut it down to size, and use double-face tape to adhere it to the inside of the bracket. And here it is, mounted on the wall, stained, varnished, with the no-cost cushions attached. Make one for yourself. Make 2, make 3. Have some fun.